Hello everyone, this is the introduction and demo video to the first project that we're going to be working on right away. So this is called Adobe Illustrator Self-Portrait Project. So in this project, students will create this digital painting of their self-portrait using Adobe Illustrator. So they're mainly going to be using shape and pen tools for this. And after students take a high contrast photo like this, to take a photo like this, just turn off all the lights during the night and then just use like a one light source, which can be like a from your camera, or you can stand next to the lamp or something like that. So create like a high contrast photo like this, and then students will start tracing shapes that you see on the photograph and then translating that into shapes to create interesting motifs and patterns. And also thinking about the balance and harmony of the shapes and the relationship between the shapes and all. So this is the project. This is the work example that I created. And if you go down, you can see the assignment description and concept objectives and all that. So this is So objective is to familiarize students with the basic tools of Adobe Illustrator, at the same time the workspace of the Adobe Illustrator. And if you go down, and also students need to learn how to compose their painting at the same time, thinking about the effects of color theory and how to use different types of color theory and color harmony. So that is something that the second part of the project. So first part, we are just gonna create this one monochromatic painting, which will be using the gray, black, and white. And then after that, we are going to change the color to different color harmonies, which could be like complementary, monochromatic, and things like that. So that is the second part of the project. So this is just for the first part of the project, where we're going to be making a lot of shapes on by looking at the photographs. So these are some previous student work example. So he chose this is obviously very ECU color, but he chose this kind of a puzzle piece looking shapes to create to highlight his facial features, at the same time highlighting the shadows. I thought that this eye here I thought that was really interesting. And then after that, he tried to using this kind of a separation of the shapes. He could have just made this in one block, but that would have been a lot less interesting. So I think that is something that he used it really creatively, and I think this is one of the successful examples. And next one is she took a little bit more realistic approach of creating her self-portrait. So she would spend a lot of time creating this hair and all these wrinkles on her face. I wanted her to be a little bit more creative, so she started to using this kind of a motif going on. But I wish that she done this a lot more on the shadows, and then the mid-tone area, which is the orange right here, to really highlight this her originality and creativity shown through the painting. And the next person, she created a lot of these linear shapes to highlight her facial features and their hairs and stuff like that. And I thought that her color scheme was interesting as well. And the next person, he used a little bit more blocky, more shapes to highlight his facial features. And I think that this is one of the cool student example as well. So we're gonna first stage of the project is going to be taking this picture, and then next stage is going to be bring this picture to the Illustrator, and then we're gonna use this as a reference picture to create a monochromatic painting first, and then we're gonna have like a lecture on the color theory, and then you're gonna have to select 4 different color harmonies and then create 4 different paintings to create this kind of a 4-panel painting going on here. So let's get into the demo. So for this project, I want students to open up the Adobe Illustrator, and then we're gonna hit create new. But this time I want this to be printed. So that students, if they choose to, students can print it at like a FedEx or Office Depot. So we're gonna go to print right here, And then we're gonna change that into inches. And I wanna select the paper size that is 11 inch by 14 inch. Make sure that this inches, and then, oh, did I change something? No. And then make sure the color mode is CMYK. So CMYK is additive color, which is used for the printings. Print objects, but if we were to use this for like a digital to be shown on the display, we would have used the RGB, but in this case we want to use the CMYK because we want to print it. And at the same time it's going to be printed objects, so we're gonna use the higher count of the PPI, which is going to be 300. I think there is, and then the preview mode is default, that is fine, and then hit create. So first thing first, we're gonna drag and drop the reference photo that we took, the high contrast photo. So I'm gonna drag and drop, and then this is the photo. The first thing first, I wanna position it to the point where I want it exactly. So I'm gonna hold down the shift so that I keep the original proportion, and then I'm gonna resize it. Maybe right there. I think that's gonna look good. So I'm going to go to the layers, and then I'm gonna lock this layer. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another layer. I'm gonna rename it to reference, and then I'm gonna rename this into gray. I'm gonna make another layer that is called black, and I'm gonna make another layer that is called white. So I want you to start thinking about what kind of motifs that you're gonna be using. So for instance, this I want to see unity within your motif choice. So you could like, oh, I want to really implement a lot of circular elements. So if you do that, you stick with that. But if you thinking about, I want to implement a lot more like a rectangular elements, you can also do that. So, why not do the rectangular elements and see what it looks like? So let's get right in. So gray area, what I want you to do first is I'm gonna disable the strokes because we're not going to be use the stroke, and we're gonna select the gray that is right over this green right here. So select this, and I want you to make a box that's gonna block the entire size of the canvas, which is going to be 11 by 14 inch. And then I'm gonna perfectly align this to the canvas. So I'm gonna go to transform, and I'm gonna to the top left corner 0 by 0. But right now we don't want to. If I have this on top of the reference photo, we won't be able to see it. So I'm just gonna hide it, and then I'm just gonna pull it up time to time when I need to see like my progress. So right now I'm just gonna hide it. So first, I'm gonna start working with the blacks. So right now there is, if I were to just use the black right now, it's going to be hard to see. So even though the layer is called black, I'm just gonna use the different color. But I would choose a little bit something similar, something as dark as this black right here. So I'm just gonna use this blue, just so that I can see where. So just so that I can see the shapes. If I were to select like black here, it's going to be really hard to see. All right, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to change that into blue right here, a little bit darker blue maybe. Yeah, that's perfect. And then I'm going to start creating different shapes. So in this, for this, I want my motifs to be rectangular. So I am going to be creating a lot of rectangles to really emphasize my features, my facial features. But I'm gonna, while I'm creating the unity with sticking with the rectangles, I want to introduce a little bit of variations in scale of each element. So if I hold down the Alt, I can just easily copy this rectangle, and then I can just resize it. Then I'm gonna start creating different rectangles like this. But think about like a balance on each section of the composition. So right now I have these two big things going on. So I want to make maybe something little like this. like horizontal so that it kind of breaks up that tension, the vertical tension that is going on. Maybe I'm gonna move this up a little bit here, and maybe I'll make it a little bit square so that it transitions to vertical to square to horizontal. So this is kind of like a conscious design choices that you should be making while you're doing this project. So since I got this rectangle, square, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna rotate it like this, and I'm gonna see what it'll look like if I were to add these two like that. I think that's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna use the Pathfinder. I'm gonna align it perfectly. I'm gonna use the Pathfinder, which is right here, to unite them. And what if I use like this this square to cut into this rectangle right here, just to kind of like indicate my nose line here, like that, and then boom. I think that's quite interesting, but I feel like this is kind of it's getting a little too blocky, so I might do that, and I'm gonna I want to keep it rectangular. Oh, what's going on? And rotate it. And then I'm gonna unite. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller like this. Gonna align it right there. I'm gonna use the but I want to make this into a little bit in there. There we go. Then I'm gonna unite these two, and so on. So I'm gonna. This is a large area of black, so I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. And let me say, oh no, I don't want that. If this ever happens, just hit the escape key on the top left corner of your computer, and then just escape out. Then I'm gonna work on my lips here. I wanna make it a little bit small like this, then a little bit bigger like this right here. And this part right here, I could make it a little, and then a little bit small. Oh, I don't want to rotate it. Notice that how I'm creating the unity with the sticking with the rectangles, and I want to see the gray and see what it looks like. Oh well, right now it doesn't look like anything. Let me do my eyebrows here, but here I'm gonna make it a little shorter in here. Maybe introduce a vertical just to kind of break away from that horizontal going on, and another long one, and rotate it around just to kind of make it interesting. I'm gonna unite these two, lower this a little bit, and I think that is kind of cool. Maybe just another one right there, a skinny one like this. So if I didn't have this angular object, it would have been too much horizontal. So just by breaking that horizontal that tension, I think is much more interesting. And then I'm gonna bring it right there. I don't want to rotate. I'm holding down the Alt or Option key if you're using Mac to just copy these guys rapidly, so that I don't have to like go Command C and Command V all the time. And maybe I should make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more substantial one as well. And I'm gonna this. Maybe I'm getting a little too, these shapes, I'm making it too small. Yeah. Then I'm gonna move to here as well. Time. Block right there. Horizontal. This and vertical. A little bit fatter like this, okay. here, better like this. A big horizontal, but I'm gonna break it with the these two. Then I'm gonna introduce a vertical just to kind of make that pause into that the really dominant horizontal. And then another one right there. It's starting to look like some kind of maze, but I think that's cool motif. So that is how I'll do my blacks. Well, it's starting to look like you're starting to see the facial features now. Okay, so let's move on to the whites. So I'm gonna lock this black right now because we don't want to touch that. We're gonna come to the whites here, and then obviously we're gonna hit the highlights. So say I'm gonna hit right there, and then another one, a little bit of a lot of horizontal here because it's nose and nose are horizontal. You make it a little bit fatter, and I'm gonna make another one that is kind of like this, but I'm gonna let's make it a little bit fatter like this, and then I'm gonna cut this into front, and I'm gonna have one coming off from here and then horizontal like this. And then I'm gonna make another one right next to it, but a little bit smaller, maybe here, overlapping like this, and a smaller one here. This is coming along well. Here, make it a little bit bigger. This, but I want to cut it a little bit like this. I'm gonna use the minus front right here, just cut it out. Then start copying these. Maybe this is way too big. A little bit shorter, smaller like that. There's a lot of then there, here. So just play around and see what it's gonna look like. So let's see. So even it still really can't tell what it looks like, but you see where I'm going with this. So just take your time and do make a lot of conscious choice of how you're putting different each shapes and relationship between those two shapes. So relationship meaning if this is all vertical, you might want to introduce like a big horizontal just to break the motion, break that the strong direction. At the same time, just by doing so, it'll create a much more interesting motif. So just it's kind of looking like my face now. If I were to do this eye and then the nose and the lips, it'll really look like a face. But take your time with it and think about like how you can create an interesting motif by implementing different types of shapes. So you could do like a circular, or you could do like a triangular, or you can do a little bit more, if you want to, you can do more like a freehand looking by using one of these pen tools right here. And then you can start where is it? You can start doing like creating this kind of a little bit more freestyle shape like that. But I think so that is it is up to you how you create your digital painting, but I want to see some kind of harmony at the same time, a little bit of a variation within the composition, and I want to see the balance of each visual elements that you're including in your painting. So that is something that you should be focusing on. Okay, so after you're done with that, you are gonna choose like a color harmony, and that is something that we're gonna be that I'll have a lecture next week, and you will choose 4 different color harmony and then play around, see what it does to your painting, and then you're gonna write about it as well and see what different color schemes did to the paintings and all. So that is it for the first part of the project, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. All right, I'll see you guys on the next video.